Welcome to the Metalheads podcast with the heavy metal strength coach and Shrubs 666. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Metalheads podcast. I am the heavy metal strength coach and I am joined by Shrubs 666. How you doing, buddy?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm really well, mate. I still don't know what fucking day it is, but
No, I must admit it's becoming more and more difficult to maintain which day of the week we're actually running on.
yeah, one of the things that is staying constant in my life is metal. So luckily we can sit here and chat about that for a little bit. So I know we've both listened to some new albums this week.
Yeah,
Well, we started with Paradise Lost and their latest album, Obsidian. I think that's what it's called, isn't it?
it is indeed. Yeah.
So, mate, what did you make of it?
Oh, well, just astonishing.
Yes.
I think it covers pretty much nearly all the styles they've done
Yes.
in their entire career. This is their 16th album, by the way, and yeah, this album is astonishingly good and literally covers every style they've done pretty much from day one. So
Yeah.
I mean, you've got stuff that sounds like Sisters of Mercy in there. Then you've got stuff that's quite heavy and similar to Bloodbath, because obviously Nick Holmes is vocalist in Bloodbath. His growls just seem to get better, and his clean vocals get better. He's just become a great all-round vocalist, really.
Yeah. I think with this album, with a lot of artists, when they're using instruments like violins, when they're using a lot of classical influence, they have a tendency to overuse them.
Yeah.
Like occasionally that happens with Dimmu Borgir, like people like that. But with this album, they seem to get the balance absolutely right. It was never overdone, and it always added to the songs, and it never felt it was in there just for the sake of it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, even when you take that just the opening track, and I can't what it was called now.
I'll hook it up anyway, mate.
Yeah, it's gone out of my head. But it starts off really gently with this sort of like acoustic guitar, and you can feel that emotion building. And then by the end of it, it's just brutal, but in a lovely way as well.
Oh yeah.
It just builds and builds, and then just from then on, the whole album just ebbs and flows wonderfully all the way until you get to what is officially their last track, which is Ravengast, which is fantastic. If you've got Spotify, you've got another 2 tracks on there, but they're actually bonus tracks, supposedly. So the actual last track, official last track, is Ravengast, and that is a fantastic track just in itself.
Oh yeah, I loved the transition from the second song, which is called "Fall from Grace," which is a really slow, melancholy song with some amazing bits in there. But then it goes into the third song, which is called "Ghosts." It almost sounds like it's got a heavy Billy Idol influence right at the start, and I just loved that transition. I thought they got the order of the songs like absolutely bang on as well.
Yeah, I think the whole album, like I said just earlier, just ebbs and flows wonderfully. It takes you through a proper journey.
Yeah.
Of their styles, the music, and even the production is so on point. I mean, every instrument you can hear, literally every instrument you can hear, but without clouding any other. And it's just like everything they've done on this just sounds absolutely spot on.
Oh yeah. Do you know what studio they use? I think they're with Nuclear Blast, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I don't know which studio they've done. I think they've done it. They've used the same people for the last couple of albums, so I think they're kind of bedding in with each other now and really, really know how everyone works.
Yeah.
So that relationship just seems to be improving and just making everything sound better. I mean, the last album, Medusa, was really good as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I think they're just because they've been going since 1988. They just seem to be getting better. I mean, they had that middle period, which I wasn't such a fan of, because it went too much down that sort of like Sisters of Mercy goth type route. And
is that the ones in the 90s?
Yeah. So, I just didn't get on with it. So, but once they started coming back to the heavier stuff, they've just since then they've just constantly improved all the time.
Oh yeah, it was, and this album was one of my favourite that I've listened to this year.
Yeah, definitely, it's definitely up there with mine, because it just literally everything about it is just so good.
Oh yeah. So I think it was great. Have you seen Paradise Lost live?
Oh, yeah, numerous times.
Yeah. Have you got any stories about that, or any?
They're just they're just so professional live. It's unreal. I mean, I saw them on the Icon tour back in the early 90s at the Astoria 2 in London. Yeah. And the one thing that sticks out of my mind from that show is not Paradise Lost. Strangely enough, it was the sport band Crowbar, because they had strippers on the stage pole dancing while they were playing. So
I often see you around the gym in a Crowbar top as well.
Yeah. You've got to love a bit of that Crowbar. So
that's the band that I haven't listened to yet, actually.
Really,
I should definitely get into those guys. What kind of stuff are they putting out?
Really, sort of like heavy doom, stoner type stuff. It's not usually my my sort of genre I go to listen to, but there's just something about Crowbar, and I think it's more because that strippers on the stage pole dancing probably stuck in my mind every time I see them. So I mean, whenever they're a great band as well. I mean, if you like, they're more on the slower stony doom side, but sort of like really proper heavy riffs as well. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is a good time to bring up another kind of stonerish band, which is one that I listened to this week, and I think you did a little bit as well.
Yeah,
High on Fire, and I've only heard the album Electric Messiah, and that was recommended to me by a podcast guest that I had on my other podcast the other day, called Jason Leonards, and he comes from a very different metal background and musical background to me, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot punchier than a lot of, like, it was kind of almost like punk stoner metal, and I kind of enjoyed that because I think it's a very difficult genre to make interesting.
Yeah. I listened to it for the first time yesterday, actually. So, and I was actually quite surprised at how fast it was.
Yes.
And considering, like, I think his name is Matt Pike. Yeah, Matt Pike. He's the guitarist in Sleep, and they did an astonishing album called Dopesmoker, which I can only listen to every now and again, and I have to be really, really in the mood for it. It's very, very good, but it's proper slow stoner doom stuff.
Yeah, the front cover of that album is what seemingly a load of Grim Reapers slowly progressing across the desert, and one of the songs is an hour long.
Yeah, it's basically just one long song for about an hour. Is basically all it is. I think the people on the front are called Weedians.
Okay.
So they've actually got like face masks on and just constantly breathing weed.
Oh yes, there we see. That makes sense now.
Yeah. So because I think because of that, I'm not the biggest fan of Sleep. Like I say, I think Dopesmoker's an astonishing piece of music, but I can't listen to it very often. And so I tended to think that High on Fire was going to be more like that.
Yeah.
And I was actually quite surprised yesterday when listening to that Electric Messiah, how fast and how thrashy it was.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was just mental. And I mean, there are some elements in there where you can kind of hear the Sleep stoner riffs come in. I can't remember the names of the songs, but certainly towards the latter half of that album, I felt there was more of the stoner stuff that I'm not such a big fan of.
Yeah.
But certainly that opening track was just like, bosh. It was like a punch in the nose. It was like, hello.
I didn't expect that at all, especially when it was described as like stoner doom metal to me. So I really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend people check it out for a very, very different take on stoner metal. And then you've got some other albums that have been on repeat this week. So Triptykon's Requiem. Just tell me a little bit about that. That's one that I haven't heard.
Yeah, well, this is how to say this. This was recorded at Roadburn last year, which is an amazing festival held in Holland. Quite alternative in the heavy scene as well. That festival, but Triptykon did a sort of like a surprise show with the Metropole Orchestra, I think the Dutch Metropole Orchestra, and basically it's 3 songs, and it goes on for about 40 odd minutes, I think 50 minutes. But 2 of the songs are from Celtic Frost. So you've got Rex Irae, which was done on Into the Pandemonium as the opener. And then the finisher is a song called Winter, which was an instrumental on Monotheist album. Both are great songs when you listen back to the Celtic Frost back catalogue and you listen to those songs. And they've got subtitles called Requiem. Rex Irae was Requiem Part 1 and Winter was Requiem Part 3.
Yeah.
So now they've added a third track, and let me just it's called Grave Eternal, which is the middle bit. And that's 32 minutes long. And it's just astonishing because the whole lot goes together so well. I mean, Thomas Gabriel Fischer, he's a legend, really. And he wrote these pieces, but I think at the time he didn't quite have the skills or the ability to actually make this whole Requiem trilogy work properly. And he got the opportunity to do it at Roadburn last year.
Yeah, and they released that as a live album as well.
Yeah, they've released it. And but to no fanfare. There was no lead up to it. Nothing. They just released it. Bosh, and went, oh, hello, here you go, have this. And everyone's like, what? Where's this come from?
Yeah, I mean, Spotify, like that first song's only got 8,312 listens, which by the sounds of it is criminally under listened to. So hopefully we'll get to get a couple more people on that.
Yeah, let's hope so, because it's a great piece of work. I mean, it's one of those pieces that, especially that middle bit, the Grave Eternal, takes you through so many emotions. They've even got an element that reminds me a little bit of Pink Floyd, where the female vocalist in there, she does this singing, but there's no words. It's a bit like Pink Floyd's Great Gig in the Sky, where they just use the human voice as an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got this choral bit that just supports it as well, and it just it's just fantastic. And there's some amazing guitar solos in there, not the big widdly ones that you hear like from big bands playing, but just ones that just subtly take the music on to the next level.
Oh, wow.
And it's a proper great listen. That
we'll definitely
album.
recommend that people check that one out. And then
definitely.
Another album and another band you've been listening to this week is Old Corpse Road, with their longest album title in the world, On Ghastly Shores Lays the Wreckage of Our Law. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Just honestly, the UK at the moment is just kicking out some great black metal bands. This band's been around for a little while now. I think this is like their third album now. Again, this is just filled with epic songs, a bit like Sojourner, but the production is a little bit thinner sounding. But it suits this band more to have that slightly thinner sound than the big sort of like bombastic epic sound that Sojourner had that we spoke about last week. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, definitely if you're a fan of Winter Philith, Woden's Throne, the Infernal Sea. You'll really, really like this.
There are going to be a lot of bands in the show notes this week. It's going to be good fun writing this and listening to all those.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely worth a check out if you're a fan of those three bands, or UK black metal in particular. Like I say, they've been around for a little while, and all their songs are based on sort of like local lore, and historical information. I mean, even the name of the band's based on an actual, I think it's a road or a pathway in the Lake District where they used to
that's
carry the
amazing.
corpses.
Yeah. Like one of the songs is The Ghosts of the Ruinous Dunstarbor Castle, so it definitely sounds like it's from old folk stories. And
it's basically they go and do a lot of research into that sort of stuff. And years ago they did a sort of like a few YouTube videos where they actually went and visited some of the locations that they were singing about in their songs. So yeah, it's great. I mean, and he does they got a good mix of clean vocals as well.
Oh, wicked.
So it gives you that nice variation. You got that high pitched vocals with some nice clean sort of like almost spoken poetically type in a nice deep voice that kind of takes the story on as well. So
that's great. I love it.
Yeah, I think you'll really like it.
All right, so what about live streams? Because obviously in lockdown, no one is playing live at the moment. We're hoping it might come back in the next few months, but we'll see. But what interesting live streams have you checked out this week? I know that we both listened to Arcturus.
Well, that's the only one. That's been the only one this week that I've actually had on my list to check out. There was another one which had the main bloke from Wardruna and the guitarist from Enslaved. There was some festival that was going on in Scandinavia somewhere, I think, in Norway or Sweden. And they were doing the guy from Wardruna was doing the opening ceremony on one night, on the Wednesday night, but on the Thursday night, at the same time as Arcturus, they had Ivor from Enslaved and I can't remember the bloke's name from Wardruna. They were doing another set, and I haven't been able to see whether that's. In fact, I'd forgotten about it until today. That because it was at the same time as Arcturus, I didn't get to see that one. So I will be looking at that and seeing how that went, because that would be interesting. Because that would be proper sort of like Viking style music. If you've ever watched the series Vikings, you would have seen Wardruna performing in there, because usually the band that's walking through playing music while they're sort of like walking through the town and stuff like that at Kattegat, that's usually Wardruna.
Oh, that's an amazing tidbit in there. What did you make to the Arcturus live stream?
Oh, that was just so good. It was a little bit flat feeling in terms of physical performance, because I've seen them live and I know what they're like on stage. They're a bit manic on stage and there's a lot more movement, whereas they were obviously very static. So that was, but other than that, musically, they were astonishingly good. Hellhammer's just a ridiculous drummer, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's just at times it feels like he's wasted in mayhem. So. But yeah, what a show that was. It was well worth checking out if you like something that's a little bit left field. It's the best one. I don't know how.
Left field space metal. It was
They're just like
on bass.
Yeah, they're just like weirdo space pirates playing metal. So
I think it's one of those. It's definitely an acquired taste that I've definitely acquired. But I think it's one of those, they take definitely a few listens to really appreciate what they're doing. Yeah,
I think they are one of these bands that can be a bit Marmite-like. Especially ICX Vortex's vocals at times can be a little bit off-putting for some. So, but his meows in the middle were just hilarious.
Did he forget the lyrics, do you think?
We're not sure whether... I was having a conversation with my friends that while we were watching it, because we were all watching it, we're all fans of them. In fact, the three of us went to see them in London. And yeah, it was... we got a funny feeling he might have forgotten the lyrics, because he just started making noises rather than actually saying anything. And I'm not sure whether... I know I definitely didn't go along to have a look and see whether the lyrics were missed.
No.
But I think my friend might have done, so I need to speak to him and find out if lyrics were actually forgotten.
You've seen those live in person. What were they like in the flesh at a genuine, proper gig?
Really, really, really good. I mean, musically and sort of like, in a way, the performance-wise, in terms of playing their instruments and how tight they were on the live stream, is exactly the same as what they're like live. However, Vortex is moving around more and integrate, and and getting involved with the crowd a bit more and stuff like that. So, and that's the only bit that's missing, and that's been the same for all the live streams I've seen. Is that sort of like interaction they have with the crowd.
Yeah.
The Enslaved one as well, because normally they have a bit of banter with the crowd, like I said about the Blackadder quotes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've not seen Oranzi Pazuzu live, so I don't know what their interaction with the crowd is like normally, but the way that was filmed, that was really cool. So you didn't have to worry about that.
That was a very, very different live stream, wasn't it?
Yeah. But this one, it was set up like it was at a proper live gig, but with no audience there. So yeah, it was just a bit weird. That
it was quite strange, wasn't it? Now, reached a time where last week I tried to start the tradition of asking you about like a classic metal album to listen to, but what my partner pointed out was Rotting Christ. One of my favourite bands were meant to be headlining Manor Fest, a festival over in the UK this weekend, and I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about them, your favourite album by them, and then I'll talk about my favourite album by them. So I'll leave the floor to you.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Rotting Christ, what can I say about them? A band that's been going since 1987, so before I even knew about them. So my favourite album of theirs is definitely the 2016 Rituals album.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is absolutely astonishing album. I mean, the new one, Heretics, is really good too. They haven't done a bad album for many a year, but for me, 2016's Rituals was just on another. There was just another level for everything that they'd been done in the past, and it just culminated in that album was phenomenal. So that was good to see live.
By Demons, that song, that album. Sorry, I think mine and my partner's favourite song off that album is Zenigma. I just think it's just another level.
Yeah, Zenigma is probably one of my favourite on there as well. I know a story about that song as well.
Do you want to tell it?
Well, yeah, I can do. He's trying to speak Hebrew in that song, right? And a friend of mine who actually knows them and does their tour management stuff when they're in Israel actually wrote them the lyrics down phonetically in Hebrew, and they chose to ignore it and use Google Translate for the words. And so obviously when I've seen them live with my Israeli friends, and we saw them at Metal Days Festival a couple of years ago now, and they literally all just fell about laughing when this song come on, and because it's just rubbish what he says. In fact, one of the words I think he says is Passover, and there's another couple of words that say mother or father or something like that. I did speak to my Israeli friend about it last night to get a bit more of the background on it, but yeah, they just ignored my friend's English phonetic version.
I'm just going to suppress this story down and just conclude it. Speaking in tongues through the media.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going and watching.
Deny!
Just going and watching Rotting Christ with Israeli friends, and you just watch him actually fall about laughing. It's just like, and you have no idea because you don't speak Hebrew. It's just.
That's the song that I'm yet to see live. I saw them perform on the Heretics tour. That I thought so. That was the album that really allowed me to discover Rotting Christ again. It's just absolutely flawless. Fire, God, and Fear is just another level of song. In the Name of God on there. Every single. I don't think there's a song on there that I don't enjoy.
Yeah, no. I mean. Definitely on the last 3 albums, I don't think there's a single song on any of their albums that I've not enjoyed either. I think they're just so good and they're so tight.
Yeah,
and they're so good live as well.
Yeah, I second that, and I've been in the pit to a lot of their songs. That's absolutely great, and no doubt we'll be seeing them live in 2021 when they go back to Manor Fest, and I think they have been confirmed for that as well, so that's cool.
Have they? Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah, so we have, in theory, a couple of minutes left. Is there any other bands or any other musical things that you wanted to chat about, or are you all good?
No, another thing that did get released this week is Gojira at live show at Red Rock in the US. They did in 2017. I watched that this week, and that's a spectacular show. And that's a band that definitely everyone should check out. I mean,
absolutely. I think I should watch that this week and then
definitely give it a watch
in next week's podcast. So
yeah,
all right. I think that's a good place to finish it. Shrubs, thank you so much for joining us. If anyone else listening could subscribe, leave us copious amounts of reviews. That would really help us get the word out about this podcast. I am the Heavy Metal Strength Coach. Thank you very much for listening.